those of you who don't know, this is Mikey Piff. He is a good friend of mine that I met through Brendan Urie. Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation about his job, about his life, and everything concerning that. So
We had
if you
good hangs at TwitchCon too.
exactly, dude, TwitchCon was so good. And
Feels
I
like
would,
forever ago.
dude, I was so nervous when I met you because I mean, you're such a larger than life character as well, and you know, I don't know. At the end of the day, like I started streaming because I'm a fanboy, you know, and meeting you was like, he's so chilled, you know, like he's so like okay with everything, and he's so happy to talk to me. And I felt the same about Brendan, you know what I mean? Like just these larger than life characters are just totally normal human beings. And we hang out for a long time at TwitchCon. Like we went to a whole concert and everything together, and it was really good to share an experience with somebody who's so experienced in music. Um, you know, and hear the way you talk about music, your love for music, the industry, and just how much you know about it. And I think some of the stuff that was super interesting, you know, is the kind of hoops you have to jump through to talk to some people and things like that. What would you say is the hardest situation in which you are trying to organize a meeting with somebody, or you know, bring them into the studio and have them on the radio show?
You know, it's really it's travel, travel schedule. I think
Right.
these are. It's kind of like it's not. It's kind of a lame stock answer, but it's we live in a global world where, you know, when you drop a song or you do a movie, it's like it's not just like America or New York or LA or wherever everyone lives,
Yeah.
right? It's like, okay, what do I have to do for the whole world?
Yeah.
So it's just like a tour, like just like you would do like a regular tour. People do tours for media.
Right.
Usually, you know, knock on wood, thankfully, you know, we've built a good brand and are usually at the top of the list.
Right.
Um, and yeah, it's just like figuring out schedules, you know.
Yeah,
Uh,
somebody's like, "Hey, I live in Ireland, but I have like one day where I can be free for 2 hours."
yeah, because like the thing is, like everything takes longer than you think it does. Like
Yeah.
it's not as simple as like I'm gonna walk in the building and do this, right? You have to think of like getting in the car, getting on the plane.
Yeah.
Could something be delayed? You know, then traffic. Like
Traffic.
they're like just like, you know, when I do a radio show or somebody does a stream, right? You've got that stream for however long of time, but the preparation before and what you do after is way longer than the actual what you're actually doing.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
it's the
and that
same with editing photos. You know, like people are like, you can take a photo in one click, but to make that photo look good takes 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours. You know, just one photo. And most
exactly.
photographers take like, you know, thousands of photos just to get one. You know.
So
Um.
it's kind of allotting for time, because once people are there, it's like, okay, this is the time you have.
Right.
You've got to get however much content or whatever it is you're doing in that chunk of time, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have any more. So it's like you know, pictures, social, video, on air stuff, you know, trying to make it personable. Like it's that's the main challenge, right?
Yeah, so I mean, like, how do you come up with questions? You know, I know from my own podcast, every single time I'm like gonna have somebody on, I try to write down, you know, a bunch of questions that I think about. But like, you know, I haven't been in a situation where I haven't had somebody on that I don't know already. So usually, what I'll do is I'll write down a bunch of things that I want to talk about, and then I'll let that float inside my head because the conversation is always more organic, you know, for me on the podcast, that we can just talk about whatever, you know. But what do you do when you don't know the person? You've got to like kind of guide the conversation into talking about the album, or like, you know, you've got these like plot points that you need to talk about.
I honestly, I mean, practice is obviously the biggest thing, but
Yeah.
regardless of whether you know a person or not, you always have to kind of write an outline. So for me, like the keys
Yeah.
to a great interview, you know, doing this long enough is that um you have to guide the interview regardless, right? So you kind
Yeah.
of have to, in your head, the magic happens in between, but you have to know the beginning and the end.
Okay.
You have to know the questions you want to ask, and then on the, you know, in your head on the fly while they're talking, decide where to take it. So you're just like you would like conduct an orchestra, you're conducting the whole thing.
The
So
conversation. Yeah.
I'm like, the key is to make it seem really easy and like we're winging it. Like everything you hear anywhere, like just like a film, like
Yeah.
is meticulously planned, but it sounds effortless.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people that's why I think people think like, man, like anybody can do anything.
Yeah.
But there is an intense amount of work that goes behind the scenes before
I mean, it's the
anything
same in
happens.
film. It's the same in film. Like,
Sure, you're
there is
practicing scenes or whatever it is
exactly.
you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, in film, what people don't realize is that the film is completely drawn out before it's filmed, right? Like, somebody will go out and firstly, they'll write it all down, and then they'll put all those in pictures. Then they'll decide how all those pictures are supposed to be set up. Then they'll decide the actors, and they slowly piece it together long before it's filmed. And then when it's filmed, they slowly piece that together. And then when it's edited, they slowly piece that together. And then when the effects goes in again, and it's this huge iteration process. Do you find that at the top level of conversation, which is what you're at, if I'm at, one end of the spectrum, you're at the complete other end of the spectrum at the absolute highest level of conversation that people want to hear. This is the content that people want. Do you find it's like that as well? Like you said, meticulously planned, and
Sure.
like the content is made specifically for what your audience is looking for, right?
Yeah, everything is tailored to who's listening to whatever we're doing right there. And the other important thing is that a lot of people forget the most important thing you can do as an interviewer is listen. Some
Yeah.
people don't listen. Some people are just like so focused on the questions they want to ask
Yeah.
that they, it becomes awkward, or you make weird transitions. Listen, I mean, and there are nuances that some people never notice, but the person who's doing it notices it, right?
Yeah.
So, like an actor would notice something that another actor does, but it would take like a regular person who's not in the area like 10 times to notice. It's that type of stuff.
Well, somebody has to point it out, right? Like somebody has to
Sure.
say, "Hey, man, you're here to interview." I think that's the difference in the podcast as well. Like, I suppose when you do it, you are asking a question and letting them speak. Whereas in a podcast, we're just having a conversation, so it's really, a lot more back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it can be whatever you want it to be. The guardrails that you put are self-imposed.
Yeah, that's true too.
You can do. I mean, listen, like the good thing about a stream or a podcast is that you can just kind of wing it and learn on your own.
Yeah.
But and it can just be a conversation, or you can make it fancy and artsy and put sound effects and other stuff in between. There's tons of stuff you can do.
Who decides this? Do you decide your own sound effects, or do you have a guy that's like?
No, yeah, it's a combination. Everything's a group effort.
Yeah.
There's a sound, like when on stream, like I know what I want.
Yeah.
Like if I think of a sound effect, I'll download it and I'll just, you hit the Go XLR touchpads depending on what's going on and what mood I'm in. But yeah, it's everything is a team effort, but ultimately, just like anything, it's up to you.
What do you think is the differences between streaming and then being on the radio show host? Do you think it's much different, or?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, listen, just like there's a difference between free and paid, right?
Yeah.
People are, when you're paying for something, you expect something kind of specific, right?
Right.
With streaming, I mean, they're night and day. People pop in and out. Yeah, I mean, I think streaming hasn't even hit whatever it should be. We've had this conversation. There's endless possibilities.
Yeah.
And right now it's just, for the most part, it's just chatting, people playing games. Some people are very creative with like lighting and cues depending on bits and donos and stuff, which is, I find very interesting.
Right.
But with the radio is like people are there for the music, and I'm kind of there to enhance it and kind of be a companion. Because the one thing that doesn't really change is that, and the one thing that streaming and what I do has in common is that people come for companionship.
Yeah, totally.
That's the main thing.
Do you think I mean it's obviously like quite a bit different, but do you think in the same way that people watch streams for the streamer, do you think that's true about the radio show as well?
Yeah, so a little. I mean, listen, it depends on what what channel you're listening to. For what I do on Hits One, yeah, I mean people are there for the biggest pop songs,
Yeah.
and we kind of help guide the journey, right? We
Y-
the big thing is about, and my big thing is adding narrative and context to whatever you're listening to. So if it's a song, the way I can help a song or an artist is like just help paint the picture, right? And not just
Yeah.
make it just because, like I said before, like there are hundreds of songs released every week.
Yeah.
So how do you cut through?
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. I mean,
just like a stream. Like how do you cut through the hundreds of people playing Fortnite and Valorant and whatever else, right? You have to, what's the difference? You've got your big gamers that already like they're pros. You're gonna get great gameplay. Then
yeah.
there are the people that are like middle of the pack, and then there's people like me who suck at Fortnite and can't build. So I'm not. So it's like, what are you
Yeah.
you
What are you there
doing?
for?
What are
Are
you
you there?
providing?
Are you there for the content, or you there for the gameplay?
Exactly.
That's the two different. That's the two biggest differences in streaming is content, like and that's what they call them. A professional gamer or a content creator. And
Right.
there's like a clear line in the sand. If you're not exceptionally good at games, then you're a content creator. Like if you cross over that in any way, like people get pretty upset about it. Or if you're on the edge, if you're good but not great, or if you're trying, people are pretty harsh online, right?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, but it is what it is when you that's your career and you had that much time on it,
Yeah.
the time to dedicate to it.
Do you use all the same gear at home, or like like is that a thing for you? You're like, oh, I've got all this awesome gear in the studio, like I want to have that kind of setup as home. I mean, you've obviously got an incredible mic and my favorite mic stands and everything. You've got a Go XLR.
Because I'm a tech nerd. I love technology.
Yeah.
The setup in the studio is way different from this because there's so much more technology and things involved that are just like everyone would be like, "What are you talking about?" But
Yeah.
like the way like the computer systems work and beaming things to a satellite, to a car, to an app, like there's so many things in the way that
Yeah.
like this is pretty direct. It's like here, computer stream, go. We're there. It's like there's so much stuff. It's a giant board with like lots of buttons and lights. Man,
Do you
I'd see
know
if I
what
could
they all
still have a
do, or
picture.
are you just like every day you walk in, you're like, cool?
No, I have to know what they all do.
Oh
Like
no.
going on like people. It's going on the radio isn't as simple as like pushing a button, turning on the microphone like you do on a stream.
Yeah.
Like you're segueing the songs and things in between. I'm picking up the phone, like editing phone calls on another like little editing unit. Like
You're doing all
there,
that live? I thought, like
yeah.
the way I have in my brain is that is that there's somebody else on the side doing everything for you, like in real time.
Some people have that. Um, some people have that. Yeah, the some of the bigger shows might. But generally I run my own giant board and stuff. Yeah. And like, you've got like 3 monitors with like different buttons and sound effects and like, some people are fancier than the others. It depends on the show, but yeah, I'm only one person. There are 3-person shows, and then there's like managing levels in your head and all this other stuff, and kind of similar to what you're doing right now. Like you got to manage multiple faders and stuff.
Yeah. Well, this morning when we were talking, you're like, oh man, you got some mic issues, and we tried to work it out, and eventually I ended up just changing mixer, and all the how Streamlabs work, so everything's set up to work in a specific way for a specific thing. So you change that mixer out, and everything is irrelevant now. So you just gotta try and go with the default and make it work. What do you do in the studio when something like that happens, and you've got to like, what do you do?
I have to call engineering and have them run over because there's so many wires. You think cable management on like a computer setup can be bad?
Yeah,
Holy
yeah.
cow! I mean,
yeah.
you've got like HD cameras, it's yeah. I have to call if it's something I can't figure out
Yeah.
because you can't like when you're hosting it. Like the interesting thing about hosting a radio show, right? It's not like TV where if you're the host, if you're like whatever
Yeah, you're just there.
your job is just to host, right?
Yeah, you're just there to
But
talk.
whether you're doing a radio show or even streaming, you have to know both sides. You have to know all the technical stuff and how to fix it if something's wrong, like the audio stuff we were working out.
Yeah.
Or if I'm like if I hit a button and a song doesn't play, or my mic doesn't work, or if the computer freezes,
Yeah.
or like fucking a asteroid hits a satellite, like I'm like, who do I call?
Is that something that's happened? Like an asteroid's hit a satellite?
No, that's never happened.
That's
that
good.
would be that would be.
Disastrous.
I don't know if I can fix that one. I hope we would get a heads up if an asteroid was coming. I'm talking to you, NASA.
NASA, if you're out there just casually watching PUNKCAST, just let us know in the chat real quick.
If there's an asteroid coming.
Yeah, if there's Elon, if you could just avoid all the Sirius satellite. How many satellites do you guys have? Do you have to buy them yourselves, or that's a good question.
How many satellites do we have? I don't know. There's like 7 or 8 up there or something. There's I know way too, not enough. I don't want to say I know way too much, but I know what like things like geosynchronous and geostationary are.
Yeah,
more than I ever thought I'd know about space stuff. There used to be a time where I would walk in my lobby and there were like literal rocket scientists like in front of like computers like with a giant screen with like satellites orbiting the Earth, and I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah. One of my friends growing up, we essentially, I'm a relatively intelligent guy. I don't want to say that I'm smart or anything like that, because I grew up with a guy that was like, yeah, I'm studying quantum physics for fun. And just got a scholarship for aerospace. What was it called? Aerospace engineering. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Like, what's that all about? And he's like, oh yeah, it's I think I actually made the joke, you're like a rocket scientist or something. He's like, yeah, that's kind of exactly what that is. And and he's like, he's got 100 on his SATs, and like that kind of guy that scores 100% on something. He's like, well, I got a 99 because technically you can't get 100. They won't give you 100 because it's impossible to get. When I'm around people like that, I just have no idea really what they're talking about. But I guess you being around it so long, now you have some understanding at least. I
mean, very minimal understanding of what that is. I know more of the audio technical stuff, and even then there are people that I know a decent amount about a lot of stuff, but I'm not necessarily like and enough to troubleshoot from experience. But I'm not the guy that would come and rewire a studio and fix it. I'd have to sit there, watch, do what I know, and then watch a YouTube tutorial.
Do you think that would
I'd watch a beauty tutorial, then an audio tutorial, then I'd fix it.
How to get the perfect fold on the front fringe while doing cabling. That's the best thing about YouTube, is you could search that up and somebody has done it. I think that's the best thing about Google in general, is like, it basically solves everything. There's somebody out there that's like, hey, this is how I did this, and that's
my God. Thank God for YouTube.
Yeah. Thank God for people saying, I'm just going to show people, like, I thought I had a little bit of trouble with this, so I'm going to record it. And most of the videos I watch are like under 1,000 views. And it's just some guy in his basement going, hey, my mouse broke in this way. This is how I fixed it. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah. That's how I set up the Go XLR and everything. Cause like cabling is so, no one wants to do that. It's not fun. It's not fun at all.
Their tutorials though, I will say, are very good. Like they have a very good support system for the Go XLR.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, the Discord is amazing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I never use a Discord because I just watch their videos and stuff, but it worked out really well. Like, I set it up with relative ease. I got everything working in relative ease, and then I was having trouble with the sound out, so I rang them on Discord. It was a Discord or something. I contacted them, and they were like, "Yeah, unfortunately, it's capped to a certain amount of hertz." Which didn't work for me because I have this amp that goes up to 300 and something. Yeah. What would you say?
Nerds, we're a bunch of nerds, chat.
I'm like, I can hear myself trying to get nerdy with you, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna pull it back here. So I'm gonna ask you a more cooler question. Who is probably like the most? I mean, you're obviously into music, so. Who is the artist that aligns with what you like so much that has come into the studio to talk to you, and you've had that oh my God, I'm meeting like my favorite artist kind of thing. I
Oh
mean, is
man,
that too general of a question?
I'll be honest, I'm a little jaded because you learn after a while that, and I think more people should learn this, is that they're like artists, they're just normal. They're really just normal people.
Yeah.
They're giant dorks. They're nice. They're super like hardcore, but like they're just like all of us.
Yeah.
And people like to put them on this pedestal that's so like high and unattainable. And I
I
wish
felt that
like
way
in a
about you
way
when
we
I met
can.
you.
Oh, dude, come on,
No,
stop.
no, no.
You're
Of course I did. You know what I mean? Like, world renowned fucking radio show host. So when I met
so
you, I didn't think you were going to be just so easy to talk to. And, I mean, we instantly became friends over your Yeezys that I still want.
yeah. By the way, don't want like walking in Yeezys. I don't recommend it for any convention. Do not use them.
Well,
They're
I remember asking you at the time, like, are they uncomfortable or anything like that, right? And you
they're
said,
comfortable to use, but not for. They're definitely not for walking and running. They
yeah,
slip around. But um, I can't remember if there was anyone. Man, it's you know what? You're obviously you geek out over the things that you're the biggest fans of. So if it was like any of the Avengers, like meeting Chris Evans or like Chris Hemsworth or any of those guys, but that's because you love the characters.
yeah,
Um, musicians at the let's see. I'll say meeting Britney Spears was cool because I had the biggest crush on her.
right, okay.
That was cool.
I mean, that's
I
our
mean,
that's our generation, though. You and I, we grew up with Britney Spears and Jessica Simpson, right? Like,
I,
they were,
I,
you
man,
didn't
I've
get on
had
the
so many people
Jessica
over the years.
Simpson
I'm trying.
train. Oh my God,
No,
beautiful.
like like always hanging out with a Taylor Swift is always super cool because she's just I find just incredibly smart and brilliant and
Yeah,
amazing.
inspiring, really inspiring.
Yeah.
Did you
So it's
watch it?
just
Sorry, go on.
no, go ahead, go for it.
Did you watch her documentary that really opened my eyes to a lot of things, in the music business anyway, and how difficult that must be,
Yeah, it's again, people underestimate the amount of stuff that goes into whatever people put out or how long it takes to plan a tour and put it together and the hundreds of people it takes to put on a stadium tour and all these things like people yeah, I think everything is just like we were saying like how long it takes to put together a stream or a show. People underestimate the amount of work it takes,
Yeah,
just to do that. So when like someone shits on something or has a negative comment, I'm like, it's not that easy, bro. It's really not that easy.
yeah,
It's
try
really
it.
it's hard just to get like a tiny show together in like a bunk room that's like your first show ever,
Yeah.
right? But nonetheless, putting on like a stadium show or a stream or a film, like people just don't like because they whoa, I just hit the wrong button on my desk.
Your desk just starts going on. I'm like, oh,
I have a step. My desk is like shut up. No. Um, yeah, dude, it is so hard to put all that. So whenever I love watching those documentaries because just like you would think people would empathize a little
yeah.
bit because it's so hard. It really is super hard.
I think in general, people just can only see their own struggles, right?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, everyone's got like the big thing right now online is like obviously, everyone dealing with everything that's going on, but like but most people are just like this. There's, they only see what they want to see or that
Yeah.
they can see. And that's fine because we've all got our own stuff to deal with. We don't have to deal with everyone else's stuff.
Yeah.
But it takes a little extra brain power to recognize that and some people choose to use it or don't.
Well, people
You know.
take things for granted as well. Like, the radio, TV, free radio, free TV is like, people really take it for granted. They're like, why is there so many ads? Or why is this? And why do I have to have this part of it? This is the industry, man. Like, we have to earn money for giving you free content. We have to create something that gives us a return. Otherwise, we can't give you that free content, So
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think there could be more creativity in how that stuff is presented. I think
I think so.
sometimes it's a little. I think people get a little lazy,
Yeah.
because it's easy to do that, and it's easy to dismiss the audience and be like, "Well, they'll sit through 12 minutes of commercials." And I'm like, "No, bro. If people are paying for if people will go out and pay for like a Netflix or a Disney Plus or whatever,
Yeah.
it shows that there's enough like unhappiness or willingness to do to something else because they're just you know no one has to do anything in 2020. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, that's true.
So like no one should take anything for like, people should be grateful for whatever they have, because like you can easily lose it in a hot second. Like it can literally be gone. And just shows with everything that happened now. Like stuff can be gone in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking earlier about like just trying to reduce the amount of outside costs we have, in terms of how many subscriptions we're like, and you get carried away. You're like, yeah, I don't want ads, so I'll get Spotify Premium, I'll get Disney Plus, I'll get Netflix. And right now I have Crunchyroll, Crunchyroll, Spotify, Netflix, Disney Plus, Crave, I don't know what you guys have, but you guys have like a whole bunch more. Like in America, they have just so much more subscription stuff, right? But
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a lot. I mean, and people forget how much it costs. Like $10 a month, like times however it adds up.
Totally adds up. I mean, it's the same with anything with convenience right now. Like Uber and things like that. There's all these hidden fees that people don't see, all the time, and you're so quick to to push that button, like you said, and that's it. You're paying double, triple for something that, I mean, you could essentially get for free if you walked or whatever.
Yeah. Well, no, the one thing I said, chat. This is the one thing I said before we started. I ordered a pizza that was free. I like the pizza literally was free because like you order 5 pizzas and you get your 6th one is whatever. The free pizza cost me $10.
Yeah, from Uber.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, obviously the delivery person needs to get like money needs to be made, but something free costs money too. Like nothing is actually free.
Yeah, whenever somebody offers me something for free, I like immediately recoil like a rattlesnake going back into its den.
Because 100%.
Because I know it's going to cost me something. How do you go about like having, I mean, are people just dying to get their ads on radio all the time, or is that something you guys have to seek out? Do they look for you, or?
I don't have to deal with ads, man. We're commercial free.
Oh, like I didn't know that.
People pay for our service, and the music channels don't have ads. My job is
that's excellent.
My job is to. Here's how I like to position it, right?
Yeah.
Free radio, their job is to play ads,
right?
To pay the bills. Their job isn't. Their first and foremost, their job isn't to play music. Their job is to put on a product that will get them ads,
right?
And that's why, people don't really pay much attention anymore. My job is just solely to play music, to play the best music, to make the people listening happy, and that's my job.
That's incredible.
It's like if I had to deal with ads and sales and all that stuff, I'd go insane. So I'd like literally just like I try to pick the best songs and entertain people. That's my job.
You pick all your own songs, right?
Yeah, I program the music for the whole radio station.
Damn, dude. 24 hours a day. You're like,
yeah. I mean, listen, obviously there are requests and people call and there's all that magical stuff that goes on, but there's got to be something there to start, or else it'd just be dead air.
Do you guys still, I mean, now I have so many more questions for you because that was something I missed. I just assume every radio station isn't free anymore. You know what I mean? Like it's ingrained into my brain. But like, do you guys still like do giveaways and promotions and like things like that? Yeah. I mean,
all the stuff. I mean, right now it's a little different, but before COVID and everything, yeah, sure, absolutely. What is the biggest thing?
What is your favorite promotional giveaway, or like
what I think the coolest thing that I helped make up, like I don't know, maybe like 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, we do something called Row a Show, where we give people an entire row of like sweet tickets, like really not sweet, sorry, really good tickets, an entire row for you and your friends to go.
Oh like, my god!
Because there are places that give like, here's a pair of tickets, and I'm like, and listen, for people who shows are expensive, I understand that, 100%. So that in itself obviously is good. So then my thing was like, how do we supersize it? That's like, let's give away a whole row. Actually, at one point I gave away 20. Like someone would win 20 tickets, and you could take all your friends to go see One Direction or Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran or something.
20 tickets is an insane amount of tickets. Do you guys? I mean, do you guys get certain leeways with those kind of things? Like, do you say, "Hey, I'm from Cyrus. Like, let's work out a deal. I'm gonna buy 20 tickets,"
It's all about
or
relationships. It's all
right?
about
Okay.
working and leveraging relationships. I had to reduce it from 20 because the thing people don't realize with most prizes with big companies is that you do have to pay taxes on things. So
Yeah.
like when you win something on like The Price is Right and you're like a new car, it's free, but you got to pay taxes. So
I
it's
noticed
actually
that on
I dropped it from 20 to 10 because one, it was you'd be surprised, actually hard to find 20 people to go to a show with.
not in the
The
broker. Shout
not
out.
not in the bro crew. But for
I just
most
screwed
people,
up the thing too.
I think one of the coolest ones ever was that we gave away 20 tickets to go see One Direction, and there was an extra ticket or two left.
Right.
And so the family, they just like they got a limo just so they all travel together, and they invited the limo driver because they had the extra ticket. It was like one of the best stories ever, and I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense. So that was kind of fun, but 20 is a lot. So we would give away 10, an entire row
Yeah.
for you and your friends to go, and the winner gets to like meet the artist backstage.
Oh wow, that's huge.
Yeah,
That's huge. Um, I'm in Australia, giving away tickets is actually quite a huge thing because in Adelaide or in my hometown, filling 20,000, getting 20,000 people into an arena for anyone is difficult. So I saw Michael Bublé for free, and I saw Tool for free, and I saw Fallout Boy for free as well. Like, all when they came, because somebody was, because I went with friends or whatever. And they're like, "Oh, you just buy tickets at the door." But it's, people would walk up and be like, "Yeah, I got an extra ticket. Here you go."
yeah. Well, the thing is, obviously in Australia, it's rough because there's only so many times a year people go, and there's only so many. There's only like 4 cities people go to, 4 or 6, right? Something like that.
They almost,
The four major ones, and then there's some smaller cities.
yeah, Adelaide's a smaller city, and they don't really go to Adelaide that often. It's usually Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, or Canberra sometimes as well, because they're the biggest cities, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
when people are traveling around and doing these tours, is that something you think about when you're trying to get them in the show, or like, well, that boy's coming to New York, let's get Patrick Stump in the show, and we'll
Oh
get
yeah,
the whole
usually
band in.
they're in New York or LA most of the time, and sometimes we do something cool in a small market. I say small market, not that's such sorry, it's like industry talk. In a not some of the smaller cities, if we think of something cool. But usually, if we give away the row, it's not just for one show; it's for every show on the tour.
Okay,
So if there's
that's
third,
huge.
so it's like 10 tickets to 30 shows,
Yeah,
and they get to meet the person. So we
and
don't like limit. I don't limit things to New York, L.A., whatever. I'm like the whole of the U.S. and Canada,
yeah,
because we're in Canada too.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I do my best for the people listening.
yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that. I know I asked you before who your who your favorite person to have on the show was. That you were sort of giddy about, but who would be a regular kind of person? Do you guys have regulars? Is that a
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing is, we're lucky because I usually end up playing artists super early in their career, right? Because it's part of my job.
yeah,
And we're the biggest supporters because my job is just to play music.
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, for the most part, all of them are regulars to a degree, right? Like, I mean, Brendan is a regular,
yeah,
right? We're homies. Uh, like a Charlie Puth, who's someone who like used to call the radio station and ask like, how do I get my song on the radio? Um, to Most of those artists, they come in and we know each other. I mean, in a professional setting, I don't hang out with everybody.
yeah. Why? Well, Brendan, you do, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, there's some that are, that I'm super passionate about and that I'm super invested in because I think, Panic at the Disco in general was just undervalued,
yeah,
um, as an artist and as a band because they weren't really getting a lot of support from music, like either radio or other places. The places where you would get your music weren't really necessarily supporting them that much, but
yeah,
he was selling it, like they were selling out entire arenas. of 17, 20,000 people, whatever the number is, right?
I
And I'm
mean,
just
they've
like,
worked
well,
their
how is
ass off
everyone
though,
ignoring this?
they worked their ass off to get where they were. And that, I think that shows, you can sort of tell the difference between them working their ass off and somebody who's just had everything, easy.
Sure. I mean, I don't even want to say easy. I'm just saying they're not. I just they deserve more attention. So sometimes I'm just more invested in, not like in terms of favoritism, but I'm just like I really want something to work. So
Love that. Do you, I mean, you actually have put me onto a few new artists that are coming out. One who I now follow on Twitter and I'm in love with. Alec, his name is.
Alec Benjamin, yeah.
Alec Benjamin, yeah. He is an incredible singer and like, when you first talked to me about him, you said, "Yeah, he's unique. You're gonna like him. Just check it out." And I did. Like, I was like, "Okay, yeah." Advice from Mikey Piff. I've got to, on music. I mean, you know what you're talking about. So
And the funny thing is, I get that question all the time. It's like, hey, what's somebody I should listen to? It's like literally the first question most people ask in like a public setting, or
I
even
screwed it up.
even my friends who are not in music, they're like, and I'm just like, because honestly, I'm the last person that's gonna talk about work.
Yeah,
I have like it's so in my non-industry friends that I hang out with, there's like two very different types of people. There's one guy who just like doesn't stop talking about his work, and there's me who doesn't talk about his work at all
yeah.
because I just leave it at the door and go hang out. But yeah, Alec Benjamin, super, super, super talented man. He's someone I used to play before he was even signed.
Yeah.
Uh, he used to
I mean, he's getting there now, right?
he would busk at like Shawn Mendes shows and other shows all around the country just for the people waiting online, and that's how he started growing himself. His songwriting is amazing.
Yeah, I agree, man. He's certainly like somebody I didn't expect to like, and I just like him because he's good. Like doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be my style. It just has to be good. So that always impresses me when I can just like somebody because it's good rather than because it already is in line with what I like.
Yeah, I saw one question, and Masha was asking a question on how I discover new music.
Yeah, there you
So
go. Let's go.
it's really hard because of the internet. So my goal, the word discover is wrong, but I think what's the word I was using before? Add context and narrative to somebody, right? Because you can essentially find whatever you want on the internet. It's just finding something and really like an Alec Benjamin and going in on it, because people can upload their music to YouTube and other digital services or whatever. So I find something, I see if it fits, right? If it's something that a sound that we need or other things, like there's so many different, or if I just really listen to it, I'm like, this guy's gonna be a huge star, right? Because to me, Alec Benjamin is like John Mayer and Julia Michaels, and like all wrapped into one. And he just like his song structure, like this is super nerdy, but if you listen to his song, like he gets to the point fairly quickly, but like says a billion words before he gets to that point. He's just very naturally talented. So it's just like kind of searching. Like I'll scroll, I'll listen to all the new songs, I'll look on my phone and see like, if I follow one person, what are my recommendeds? I'm all like, I get DMs all the time, like, of people who like want to get their music exposed or just want to start or just want me to listen. So I'm all the time there's no lack of ways to find music. It's just like, okay, how do you decide like this is the one to play?
I
And that's
love
a hard
that.
decision. That's a hard decision to make. You just have to like,
Yeah.
there. I mean, I use the term Moneyball now. If anyone knows what Moneyball is, it was a movie. But essentially, sports uses it to like. I'm trying to think what the sports uses it to find the best players and maximize their team, even if they don't have the best talent. And that's kind of like the music industry uses that to try to find artists online, like who's streaming really well, who's doing well. Like there are people dedicated to just like finding who's doing what and what's going on what trajectory and all this other stuff. So there's like a lot of math in it as well. But to some degree, you gotta have like I like gut too. Math is great, but if you can't like super like you know, like math doesn't make Avengers the biggest movie of all time. Like it's math and art.
Yeah. I mean, that was the thing in Moneyball. For those of you who don't know Moneyball, it's a movie about a team that didn't have as much money as the other teams, and they used basically a method to create an average hit run number to try and close the gap between teams that could buy the best talent in the world. So I guess, in the sense of the music industry, you're trying to like average that out as well. So you're constantly playing, and like a dollar average value for money when it comes to music. Mikey, what I did was I asked the chat to ask you some questions. So if you want to take a look at chat right now, there's a bunch of questions in the chat right now. And Kirby has asked, whose career didn't take off but should have?
Good. That's a good question. Let me see. Whose
That's a
career
great
didn't
question.
I mean, there's a lot of one-hit wonders.
Yeah.
That I'll be honest, that one caught my eye, and I started thinking about. I'm like, oh man, who should have?
Yeah, who should be huge?
Who should be huge right now? If I want, you know what? Tori Kelly is a good one. She's very, very talented. It's man. There's so many. Here's the thing, right? To make a song popular is so hard. It takes a lot of people.
Yeah.
To make it. It takes a lot of people to make someone's career work. Again, it goes back to like you don't realize how many people it takes to make a hit song or to make someone like a superstar, because you got to think like there's a manager, there's a tour manager, then there's like a guitar tech, then there's the band, then there's like the agent, then there's like people have like teams of like 20 people, and that's just like a to make things work. Tori Kelly's a good one. I'm trying to think. I mean, here the interesting thing is, and I didn't give it a lot of too much thought. Right now, not being able to tour is hurting artists.
Yeah.
This is kind of a more of a broad answer, but not being able to go out there and get word of mouth, and not like face to face, because like Zoom sessions are fine, but they don't have the same connection as like a live in person performance are. And there are artists whose careers are being stunted because they can't go out and tour right now. That's something that, and I mean, aside from obviously like all the people that support tours and help put those shows on, which are hurting too, economically. But man, I'm trying to think if there's any specific person that I think should have been bigger.
I mean,
Tori Kelly is a good answer, Kirby. She's incredibly talented. But how about this? Let me flip the question, right?
Okay.
Because there are artists that come to me and ask me advice every so often, and this can relate to life too. And I tell people this all the time, right? It can even relate to streaming or whatever, anything you do. Do you want to be a megastar, like a super, like is your goal to be a super duper megastar, like A-level stadiums, traveling the world, like everyone knows your name? Or is your goal to to live a happy life doing what it is you love, right?
Yeah.
And that takes the shape of whatever you want it to take. And there are some artists that that are good at what they do and have fans, but they either don't have big hits or whatever the case is, but you got fans, right? So you can go, you can tour, and you can live a very comfortable, happy life and get married and have kids or do whatever you want to do, and still work in music, just not be a mega A-level superstar that everyone in the world knows. So that's really up to you. You can be like a super mega streamer like Ninja, or you can be happy, making a really nice living with a couple hundred people watching, which is still, by the way, an incredible feat.
Yeah.
Either way, but it's up to the person, right, to decide what success is.
You think people always want more, Mike? Like,
I think people don't know what they want because they're either told or they're influenced by what they see.
Yeah. Right.
And that's people not being in touch with who they are. And you know what? It's something I recently, just started revisiting.
Yeah.
Myself, because again, the main thing is success is defined by the person, not anyone around you, not your what you perceive to be or what you are influenced by, because that's literally what everyone does. Everything is just like noise in your head.
Yeah.
Like, what makes you happy? Do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I, do what it's and be yourself and be authentic. And that's the thing, because people will come to that. And if you end up being a megastar, it's based on the fact that you were you and you chased what you wanted and how you wanted it. or you've got a lifelong career that you can go and perform in front of like 5,000 people, or go be like the best supporting actor for the rest of your life, which is totally fine, right? Because you're doing what you want. I think that's the biggest thing that I also think that what's going on right now is kind of putting to the forefront, right? It's like what makes you happy,
Yeah.
because there's so many things
We
failing
talked
us
about
and
this before
crumbling.
stream as well. We were talking about like just reducing the amount of things that are unnecessary and that making us happier. You know, I said to you just me working, 2 hours less a day. Um, and streaming on top of that was I've got all the questions ready to go. It's all right. You don't have to
No,
um,
I want to make sure chat. I'm watching you too. I don't want to think I'm not paying attention.
yeah. Yeah, so and we're talking about how hard that is. I mean, like you said, if you stream as well, I mean, you're adding another, two more shows to your week, and you already do 6 shows a week. And same thing for me is, I'm working in the film industry. As soon as I finish a 10-hour day, if I do another 2 hours, that it's not like it's still considered in a way. It feels like work,
Sure.
even if it's fun. My work is fun, but it's still work. And there's a lot of people out there that want to be super mega famous, but what they don't realize is what comes with that, and you don't really understand it until you've got it, right?
100%. And you lose privacy, you lose all these other things. And is the goal to be famous?
Yeah.
That's like, I don't necessarily think like that should be the goal, right?
I mean, there's plenty
But
of famous people that don't have the money that go with it as well.
it takes a lot. It takes like I said before, to do a stadium show, right? It takes hundreds of people, and then not like, think of it this way, right? You put on a stadium show, like just the set alone,
Yeah.
then the hundreds of people to put that set together,
Yep.
then to take that set down, load that set onto a truck or a plane, you have to feed all those people,
Yeah.
put all those people in hotels, move them to another city, do the same thing all over again 30 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's logistically, like that's a lot of stuff.
And play and like have to realize all those moving parts, every single person in that production and all those different parts, how many things can go wrong with each one of those parts, and have a backup for it, like pre-plan everybody, to a year in advance sometimes.
Yeah, tours are generally planned about a half a year to a year in advance. They're planned sometimes before, like they even announce an album.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay, Mikey, next question. Otherwise, I'll eat up all your time. I know you have to go soon. What are your tips on networking in the music industry? If somebody wanted to get you their stuff, what would be the best way to do it?
just DM me. That's simple. I mean, I look through them as best I can. Just DM me, message me on Twitter, and generally I'll see it at some point.
Right.
Be persistent. Just don't be annoying. Just don't spam. But
What's the
I mean,
difference between a hello and a spam message? Like if you see something, it's like when I see a message that just has a link in it and it's like, hey, my name's hey, blah blah blah, generic message link.
Yeah, don't. I would say don't cut and paste.
Yeah.
Like don't do it like once a day. Every few days or whatever. I mean, generally I see it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Because that's I'm good at that. But um, just like know that you're working around the person's not working around you.
That's a great answer.
They're and then it's not an arrogance thing. It's just people have stuff going on. Like,
Yeah. Okay. Next question. How long have you been on radio, and how did you get into it?
let's see. So origin story, I got bit by a radioactive spider. No, sorry. I had to.
You're a big Marvel fan, hey? Like
I
you've
fucking love
talked
that
you've
shit,
talked
man.
about Marvel so much, and it's
All
funny
day.
because I've worked on so many Marvel movies that I guess the shine's off it for me.
Sure.
The same way it is meeting famous people for you, it's like the shine's
Sure.
off it.
But to answer your question, so let's see. I started as a theater kid, and I always loved I love performance art, and just song. So that, and at that point, I became as a part-time job, I was working in Mickey D's, and then I met somebody who like was a DJ, and I started doing like sweet 16s and weddings and parties and stuff like that. And I kind of grew from like a dancer to a DJ to an MC, and that's where I kind of like was the ground level for me for learning entertainment.
Right.
And then you know, taking those likes and combining all those things, I used to love the radio, and shows and music. You know, I would listen on my way to school or whatever, and then I interned at one, and it's kind of weird, but it's kind of one of those aha moments. I walked into like the main lobby area, whatever, and you like everything is in radio studios and in general most studios. It's all most people don't know that it's glass. It's
Yeah.
for the most part all glass.
Because they vacuum seal it, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's all soundproofed and sealed and stuff, and you want to communicate back and forth. So I went and I saw this DJ doing his show, and then I looked over and like the view from outside the window was like of the city. So
Yeah.
I just kind of like put one. I'm like, he's talking into that microphone and talking to all those people, and I'm like, that's cool as hell. I want to try that. So that's when I was like focused on that. So honestly, it's kind of going back to the question that you originally asked of like how do you get someone's attention.
Yeah.
I interned and I was persistent. But I like how I got my job at Sirius, right? After I was an intern, some of the people that I worked with ended up going to Sirius, and what I would do is I would once a week, right? I would just shoot an email, really short, like, "Hey, hope you're having a great day. Um, just wanted to follow up, see if there's anything going on, or if there's anything I could do to help. You know, I'm here. Thank you. Talk to you later." That's it. Super short. I would sometimes it would be phone, sometimes it'd be email, and I would just like it'd be really short to the point, like nothing convoluted. Because, like honestly, I like if you send me a message longer than 4 lines, probably not reading it. I don't have the time to read like long ass emails, even from people I know. I'm like after 4 lines, I'm like delete. I don't have the bandwidth to do it.
Yeah.
It's just like get to the point. Don't fluff stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Don't let this just like
I'm
this
very
is
much the
like this
same.
is what you're here for. Like I don't have time I don't have time to figure out what it is you need. Just tell me what it is you need or what you want. Or if you're just typing to say hi, that's fine too. But I need to just know that immediately so I can move on.
Yeah. I mean, it's the
Um,
same in my job. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that want to get into the film industry. And I think, you know, I'm going to move this into the last question because I know you have to go.
no worries. I told whatever I had next, that might be like 15 minutes. So.
Yeah, I know. No, thank you. And I appreciate it so much. I appreciate your time so much. So yeah, I guess my last question, you know, is like moving into like, you know, in the movie industry, everybody has this sort of glossy idea of what working on movies is like. You know, and I guess, is it the same for everybody? Like, you know, do people think that it's easier, you know, do they have this kind of magical idea of what it's like? The way you talk about it, it seems magical. So it's easy to get that misconception. It's obviously a lot harder, right?
Which part?
Your
Just
job,
music in
just
general?
in
My
general,
job? Oh,
your job,
100%.
yeah.
Dude, it's stress. It's stress on stress on stress. I mean, the thing is, just like anything, you have to remember to have fun. Because ultimately, if you're not having fun, then what's the point in doing it?
Yeah.
But like I said before, like doing a show is shorter than the planning and the work that goes into it. So everything that you hear, that you see, that you watch is like people are like, you know, you go to a concert's only like, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending.
Yeah. On the
But the
show,
work
right?
that goes like to build the set takes a day.
Yeah, it takes 24 hours. People don't
So for
realize that
me,
they try and do it in 24 hours. They try and do the whole thing in 24 hours. So
yeah,
somebody is starting at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they work all the way up until the show. And then as soon as they, you know, they sleep while the show's on, and then they pack it all down.
exactly. And so yeah, no, it's shiny when it goes on the air, but there's just like stream or anything, or even if you're just putting together a playlist, RIP music playing on
I
stream.
know, right?
Um yeah, it's everything that goes on is like it's emails, conversations, phone calls, text messages, like just to get, you know, things to get to you know, record stuff to play, and then after that it's, you know, editing and sitting there and listening to it and nitpicking, sound design,
Yeah.
you know, word economy, breaths, like editing
Yeah.
out all the like. This is super nerdy chat. Like this is like the nitty gritty, like getting into it. Like
Oh,
I
and
was
I'm
editing.
sitting here like,
Like I edited an interview the other day with this actually, I will drop a new artist name. So we started this new program called Hits One to Watch, and it's just like we're gonna hopefully as frequently as we can pick an artist that everyone should kind of pay attention to, and her name is Zoe Weiss. She's a 18-year-old kid from Germany. Amazing voice, and only has one song named Control, right? So I it was like, okay, it was something that happened very quickly. It was like we kind of turned it around like within a week. Hey, we're going to launch this, do this, get assets for social media, do this, and all these things to make it happen. Then set up an interview via Zoom because that's the world we live in.
yeah,
And recording an interview and then listening back. Here's something I recommend for everybody when you're creating stuff. Always listen back to your stuff. Go back and watch your
yeah.
VODs, listen to your shows so you can learn more, and then cringe at yourself because you will absolutely cringe at yourself.
Oh, I
was
know I'm
listening.
gonna cringe at myself today. This is gonna be the
I
one
know.
I'm so like, no, I said to you when I first did this, I wanted to have you on the show, but I at least want to have 4 podcasts before I see you, so I'm comfortable talking to you. And I'm still like so nervous, because you're a master of this craft. So trying to like live up to that. I don't want to be in a situation where I'm sitting here and I know you're cringing because I'm doing so bad.
No, not at all, dude.
Okay.
I recorded this interview and I went back and I listened to myself and I'm like, oh my god, this is such trash. So I went to post it up. I edited myself to high hell.
Yeah.
But yeah, like taking little breaths out, like little tightening silence. Like there's so much, just like making a song, right? You'd notice if there was one thing off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe not everyone would notice. But
I mean, I hear it. Like you hear a snare that hits a little louder than all the other snares, and then that's the
sure.
song for you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, exactly. So it's everything anyone sees and hears. There's so much work that goes into it, and that's why you just have to like turn off Twitter or something for a bit because people are just like they easily just want to go in and just like they'll pick out the one thing, and I'm like, dude, but what about the 99.9%?
Yeah, that's all
Everyone
people
picks
see,
on the
man.
0.1.
Yeah,
And I'm
that's
like,
all people see.
who hurt you? Who hurt you? That's what I want to know.
All right,
right? Because
last and final question, Mikey. Who hurt you?
yeah. I'll say that I'll say this in general. Just not had nothing to do with that question.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. All the negative stuff that's out there for everybody out there. And I've said this on stream too, is any negativity anybody gets is purely 100% on the insecurity of the person sharing the comment. So when somebody says something negative or toxic or whatever, right? Unless it's being constructive and someone's trying to obviously be positive. But if something always comes from a sense of insecurity and something from within the person. So I try to have empathy when I see somebody make a dumb comment. And I think to myself, all right, what is that person going through that they felt the need to be a keyboard warrior at that moment in time to say something like that to me or someone else or whatever, to an artist? And I'm like, obviously everyone feel, you're hiding behind this. So you're right. There's less consequence, but something has to be behind that in order for that to happen. So I try to have that mindset as best I can because we're all going through something in some type of way, especially now. So I think insecurity is the root of a lot of stuff. If everyone just kind of focuses on their own, what they have going on and being the best they can be and not giving time to that stuff, we'll all be a little bit better.
I love that. Wise words, my dude.
I just turned into Tony Robbins.
I kind of like, yeah. I was like for one there, I forgot that I had to speak after that. So there was a second there. I was like, oh shit, yeah, I gotta talk now.
Does anybody have any other questions, by the way?
Yeah, if we have any more questions.
I feel like we nerded out a lot now. I want to make sure everyone's like, this isn't just like, it sounds like beep, 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 beep.
I mean, like I said to you on the start, obviously I had a bunch of questions in my mind and I feel like we got through them pretty naturally. But I think my biggest problem with you is that you and I are both incredibly nerdy. And I had to forcibly steer myself away from the nerdy parts as much as possible. As soon as you started talking about satellites, I was like, oh, dude, I'm in, like, that's what I want to listen to, but not generally what most people do.
I'm trying to think if there's anything chat would have wanted out
Yeah.
there. Like, listen, and I said, by the way, Mosh is like trying to teach us how to reach a higher level of human. I'm trying to do it every day, man. I fail all the time, and I'm trying to. I like right now, especially now, like work from home has been hard. Like all the circumstances that have isn't easy, on everybody. So it's just like, how do you be the best person you can be, and going back to all the artist stuff I said is like figuring out what makes you happy and what's going to take you to the next level of human.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's what we're all trying to
well,
do here, right?
some people forget. It's really easy to forget.
Yeah.
Super easy. Some people just have this singular focus on like, making the biggest song ever, being partner, being, whatever. There's so many like it's all foggy, right? But like here's a great example, like being partner on Twitch, right? What does
Yeah.
that mean? Like, what is that? Oh, you get a purple check, or being like verified on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but what does that mean, right? If you take away the idea of like the check, it's literally just the path. Like that's just the path to growth.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
If checks didn't exist, right? That just means like work harder.
Yeah.
And but people are so like material and all this other stuff. So
Yeah, and you know what?
well,
Like it goes both ways. And I was talking with Loft Jeezy. You know Loft, right?
yeah, I was watching last week.
Yeah, so I was talking with Loft Jeezy about it, and literally the only difference between having the check and not having the check is the fact that people respect you more for no reason at all. Like, oh, you've got a check mark, and you can get a check mark with having no viewers. You're a professional gamer with an organization that gives check marks out to all their professional players. You can get that check mark for free.
It doesn't mean
yeah.
you worked any harder or any less than anyone else.
No.
It doesn't mean anyone
Yeah.
puts any less of an effort into what they're doing.
They had to work so hard to get to a professional gamer point, so that's why they deserve
Sure.
the check mark. But people that have only seen the Twitch side of things don't understand that.
Right. But again, people aren't like, when people are learning stuff by themselves with no like mentor or help, which is kind of what goes on in the internet. Everyone's just learning by themselves, or a YouTube tutorial, or just like winging it.
Thank God for YouTube again.
Yeah. So is there anything we missed, chat? I feel like we were super nerdy.
Good.
So if there's anything,
I think it's pretty cool to flex. Wait, pretty cool flex to be fair, but why? Oh yeah, the partner thing, definitely.
yeah, sure, but like,
yeah.
I mean, the good thing is that that's the real person. Ultimately that was the purpose of the check.
Yeah, well,
like,
that's
to know
especially Twitter, right?
Yeah, so that you're not, because I know people that got verified because their stuff got hacked or whatever the case may be, and you want to know that the messages that you're getting from them are from them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there are fake accounts all the time.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they only have to change a digit to a different digit that kind of looks like that digit, and
I'm trying to look at Mosh's question.
Yeah, I would think just some people would never go get the check or verified or hit it big, but they are still grinding day in, day out, and they never quite get there. So did they change their goals or perspective? Find contentment where they are currently at? Continue to try harder? Like it can be draining at a point in time for some people. Yeah, definitely. Plenty of people out.
It goes back to what I was saying before. It's defined by the person, right? So your worth is defined by you. Like, so the person giving you the check mark shouldn't define your worth, and nor should a check mark. So, like there are people with hundreds of thousands of followers that don't have a check mark. Who cares, right? I mean, with Twitch, you get like some added benefit, potential revenue benefits, but you don't get extra money on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and whatever, right? So that just needs to be defined by you, the person.
Yeah.
Because like, just because someone decides, like, because you type in, you submit a request and like to get verified or whatever, and then there's a person or something deciding your fate, and I'm just like, well, why are you giving that person that power? You just do what you do. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, at some point, if you get big enough, generally it happens. But that just, again, goes back to if you just grind and work hard and do your best and focus on your goal, you'll at some point get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you'll get to the place where you get to, and you have to realize that it doesn't really matter where that is. It just matters that you're happy, Yeah. And if you're happy, it doesn't matter what you've got. It just matters that you're happy.
Yeah, 100%. Then all that stuff, you won't even think about that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Mikey. I know you've got an appointment to get to, so at this point, I'll let you go. And
I hope we answered everyone's questions.
yeah. It looks like we've got no more questions in the chat. For now, chat, you've got like literally one chance left to ask Mikey some questions, and then you'll never get the chance again. Kidding.
I want to make sure like everyone got what they you and everyone got
Yeah.
like what they had a good time. And
You know what I
Yeah.
want? You know what I want from you, Mikey? And I'll ask you this question. In 6 months, I want you to come back on the show because I'm sure after this you're going to give me a ton of critiques because I asked you to. And you being like, obviously you've been doing this for all that, but I'd like you to come back after I've had a chance to like do that and let me know if I've improved or I'm just still the shit old
Sure.
same person.
I usually try to turn you on Saturday mornings while I'm like cleaning or something in the background, and I'll listen.
You know what? That's a huge compliment, man. Like, for my little old show here, to
It's
have
like
people
it's
on
like
and-
listening to homies,
Yeah, I love that.
And Wiggins, it's bacon and egg sunny side up on a plain bagel toasted.
Let's go. No cream cheese.
No, not with eggs.
What? You don't
Is
have
that
cheese and
is that a
eggs?
Canadian thing?
It might be an Australian thing.
Maybe. Yeah. No cream cheese. It's just bacon, egg, cheese, whatever.
So I would do probably a very similar thing, although I don't eat bread anymore. But I would do a bagel with cream cheese and then bacon and eggs on the side.
Oh yeah. That's on the side, not on the actual sandwich.
I could though.
I mean, you could.
I could,
But
like,
I
I
won't.
would, is what I'm saying. I'm not saying
That-
it's possible. I'm saying I would definitely do something like.
That's like putting pineapple on pizza, you savages.
Wait, you don't like pineapple on pizza?
Not on pizza. It's fine. It's not. I'm like Home Alone, man. I just want a plain cheese pizza for myself. That's it.
Feel that.
Yeah. There you go.
I think chat's saying a lot of thank yous for coming on, and myself as well, man. Like, I think you know how appreciative I am to have somebody of your caliber on the show, and as a friend as well. It's just been incredible to be able to have you in my life in such an easy and unapologetic way. Like, I don't feel like I force you to be my friend or anything like that. And that's super important to me. So,
Yeah, man. Of course, we should do it more often.
We
but we're all
should.
working like animals.
That's honestly why I started a podcast, man. Like, I just want to hang out with my friends. Like, and I realized, like I said this to you before, like I realized that having all these questions is kind of dumb because we're already friends. Obviously I do shape things in a way, and that's a thing, but it's easier to just talk to my friends than it is to ask them a bunch of questions, wait for their answer.
Sure.
All right, my dude. Okay, lots against pineapple. Cancel Cyrus sub.
How dare you?
Have you said that on air yet?
What, the pineapple thing?
Yeah. He was
Yeah,
afraid to say.
I make fun. I don't care. That's like the biggest thing. There are a lot of artists that come by that just like when we ask them what their preference of topping, pineapple's overwhelming, and I'm like, wow, I had no idea. I thought I knew you, but clearly I didn't.
Wait, so you think more people like pineapple on pizza? I thought it was like a 50-50 thing.
I think more people know it than we think, like it than we think.
Right. I
mean, listen, pizza topping is very personal, just like your coffee order.
Maybe personal for like New Yorkers, but in Australia, we're just like, is it pizza? Like, does that have dough, tomato sauce, and cheese? We're good. Anything else?
Yeah.
You can put anything else on it. We'll have anything: anchovies, olives, banana peppers.
People have opinions, man, on everything. Everyone's got
True.
one.
Yeah. Mike, I don't know. You can read the chat there. Lots of people saying they love you, and they're
Thanks,
so happy
everybody.
you came on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my dude. Yeah, I'll let you go. I know you were like hard, and I've already gone over by 40 minutes, man. Like, I'm stressing out.
You're over by 30, I think.
Over by
25.
30? I'm so sorry.
Something like that. That's fine. I don't care.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me, man. And
man.
let's do this again, like real soon. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever you want. Do you mind if I plug something real quick?
Oh, go ahead, man. Anything you want to plug, go ahead.
If anyone wants to come by later, because I mentioned before I'm a theater nerd. We're gonna do a Discord watch party of Hamilton. which if you want to come punk too, I highly recommend, because I would say, if for the people in the chat who love, we've talked about art and all this stuff, I would say Hamilton is probably the best piece of art I've ever seen in my life.
You're gonna do this in Discord, Mikey. I remember. Do you want to send me the link so I can put it in chat?
Yeah, I don't have a link or anything yet. I'll be honest. I'm
No,
not the
that's
best
okay.
at Discord, so I might have to ask you that later.
Kirby, if you wouldn't mind grabbing the link from Mikey's channel. It's on your channel, right? I would assume.
Oh, the Discord link. Yeah. So yeah. So I'm gonna do a little. There's only 50 people and on Discord, because otherwise, obviously, you can't stream that.
Yeah.
But if everyone wants to come and hang out or stream later, come hang out. We're gonna watch Hamilton, and then then I'll stream later, and then we'll talk about it.
It is honestly so hard, Mikey, to find anything other than Cyrus when I search your name. Like getting your Twitch. Yeah, it's difficult.
Hold on.
Right.
I will. Let me go to my own channel and get the Discord. So if you want, we're gonna do that at 4 o'clock Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 o'clock Eastern time. It's also today being the 4th of July in America. It's kind of very timely and prevalent. So,
yeah. All right. So you guys are just gonna get together, watch a movie in the Discord, and chill out.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I love that.
And then the usual stream afterwards.
Put it in the books, chat.
I'm a nighttime streamer.
Yeah, Mike. Before you go, do you want to just plug your own stream a little bit? Because I feel like you haven't at all. I know people know you stream, but definitely, if you're gonna check out, yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm trying my best to come up with again, like Punk said, doing regular radio shows and then streaming. It's like doing 8 shows a week. It's almost like I'm on Broadway, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing matinees and I'm doing nighttime shows. Yeah, I'm trying to expand it a little more, but right now it's Saturday and Sunday late afternoons, evenings, like usually start somewhere between like around 7-ish, give or take an hour. We play Animal Crossing. I'm starting to get back into Fortnite. Grizz is going to try to teach me Fortnite this week because I
love that.
I'm focused on trying not to suck so that I can play squads with Sam and Jonah and Brendan, so I don't just die after 5 minutes. Okay,
that's how I play as well. Like, I'm just that bad.
I don't want to be just 100% comic relief. Maybe just 75%. So, but yeah, stream on weekends. I mean, we talk about music. We talk about a lot of the stuff that we talked about today.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of kind of like what we've been doing here, and then just kind of relaxing and vibing out because everyone's so stressed out, and just like that's where Animal Crossing comes in, or marbles, or any of that stuff. So it's just kind of hanging out, talking about music and all this nerdy stuff and whatever. And the Hamilton thing was just kind of the great. We've talked about theater multiple times. I know Curvy and Masha. There's a bunch of people who love theater in chat. Yeah. And something that I've always talked about since the start. So when that happened, I was like, oh, this is a perfect time to do like movie night or a watch party, which I've never done. So it's my first one.
Oh, there you go. Hey, well, I hope it goes well for you. I would love to make it, but I'm like fully booked up today. You said it's like straight after this as well, right?
4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific.
There you go. That's perfect.
So in about 2.5 hours.
All right, Mikey. I love you, mate. Thank you again, man.
I got you, brother.
Appreciate you so much. You have no idea, and it's so awesome to have you on. And then let me hit you up. Let's pre-organize, like a date where you can come back and then hit on me all over again.
Never.